Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they wait. They wait for motivation, wait for inspiration, wait for the perfect day, the perfect mood, the perfect moment that never actually arrives. Laziness doesn't feel dangerous when it's happening, but it destroys your life silently, one delayed decision at a time. Procrastination is not a habit. It's a thief that steals potential and returns nothing. The truth is, you'll never feel ready. You'll never suddenly wake up one day with effortless discipline. Waiting doesn't create strength. Action does. Momentum doesn't come from thinking, wishing, or planning. It comes from the uncomfortable, imperfect step you take right now. You don't build your future tomorrow. You build it today, in the exact moments you want to avoid. This audiobook isn't here to comfort you. It's here to confront you, to remind you that your dreams don't disappear because they're impossible. They disappear because you delay them. Every time you choose comfort over effort, you train your brain to quit. Every time you choose discipline over excuses, you train it to rise. Stop waiting for life to change first. You are the change. Tomorrow isn't a promise. It's a distraction disguised as hope. Because the life you want won't show up when you're ready. It will show up when you get up. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Laziness isn't comfort. It's self-destruction. Laziness disguises itself as rest, but it is nothing like rest. Rest restores energy. Laziness drains it. Rest prepares you for movement. Laziness steals the desire to even begin. It convinces you that doing nothing is harmless, that relaxing is innocent. But slowly, without warning, your ambitions shrink, your standards fade, and the future you hoped for dies without effort. Laziness doesn't destroy you loudly. It kills your potential quietly. Many people believe laziness is a moment of peace, a break they deserve, but real peace comes from progress. Peace comes from knowing you are building something worthy. Laziness gives fake peace. It soothes you while your life falls apart behind your back. You avoid the stress of effort, only to create the bigger stress of failure, regret, and wasted time. What feels relaxing today becomes a burden tomorrow. Laziness is not an escape from work. It is a commitment to weakness. Every time you avoid effort, you are choosing to remain small. You are choosing to downgrade your future. The more you delay action, the more you train your brain to quit. You reinforce hesitation, procrastination, and fear. Laziness doesn't just stop you from moving. It teaches you to never start. Comfort looks like safety, but it's the most dangerous prison you'll ever live in. It promises relief, but robs you of results. It convinces you that staying still is harmless, but stillness is where dreams go to suffocate. When you stay comfortable, life moves without you. Opportunities pass quietly. Time slips away unnoticed. Laziness keeps you breathing, but slowly kills everything worth living for. Laziness tells you there's always time left. It gives you permission to wait, to delay, to do it later. But later becomes never. Tomorrow becomes a lie. Weeks become wasted years. You don't realize what you're losing until your chances are gone. Laziness doesn't feel like destruction in the moment, but it's the biggest destruction you can choose. When you avoid effort, you're not protecting yourself. You're abandoning yourself. You're abandoning the version of you that could be stronger, wiser, richer, more disciplined, more fulfilled. Laziness forces you to settle for a smaller identity. It convinces you that you are fine where you are, even when you know there's more inside you. It attacks your potential, not your comfort. Every lazy decision has a silent cost. The workout you skipped doesn't hurt today, but one day your body will break. The opportunity you ignored won't sting now, but later you'll wish you acted. The dream you postpone won't scream for attention, but it will die quietly. Laziness doesn't punish immediately. It punishes eventually when it's too late to undo the damage. Laziness manipulates your emotions. It tells you effort is painful, when in truth, effort is how you escape pain. It tells you discipline is hard, when in truth, discipline protects you from hardship. It tells you working now is exhausting, when in truth, regret is the real exhaustion. Laziness lies to you in a comforting voice, so you never suspect it's destroying you. When you give in to laziness, you are choosing struggle later instead of effort now. You're choosing frustration instead of progress, disappointment instead of accomplishment. Life will demand payment either way. The question is whether you want to pay with sweat or with regret. Discipline costs pain today. Laziness costs your life tomorrow. Only one of those is a price worth paying. Laziness kills ambition before your goals even have a chance to grow. You don't lose your dreams because they are too difficult. You lose them because you stop working on them. You think you lack motivation when what you really lack is motion. Laziness poisons the mind with hesitation until you no longer believe you can change. You don't fail from inability, you fail from inactivity. Many people think success requires perfect effort, so they wait until they feel ready. Laziness loves that belief. It convinces you that readiness matters more than action. But genius, mastery, wealth, health, personal power, none of them came from people who waited to feel ready. They came from people who acted despite discomfort. Laziness steals greatness by convincing you to wait. Laziness pretends to protect your emotions. It keeps you from discomfort, embarrassment, failure. But the cost is enormous. It keeps you from growth, pride, and fulfillment. It keeps you from discovering what you're capable of. It protects your ego while destroying your destiny. You become more fragile the longer you avoid effort. Laziness builds insecurity, not safety. The truth is, laziness isn't a break, it's a slow surrender. Every time you avoid doing what matters, you surrender a piece of your future. You surrender opportunities, freedom, skills, discipline, confidence. You surrender respect for yourself. Laziness is not passive. It is actively taking away your potential, one comfortable choice at a time. When you choose laziness, your brain learns that doing nothing is acceptable. It rewires itself to expect ease. Soon, even small tasks feel heavy. Ordinary effort feels impossible. Your mind becomes weak because you train it to avoid effort. Laziness creates a soft brain, one that panics at difficulty, breaks under pressure, and collapses at challenge. You don't build a powerful life with a comfortable mind. You build it with a disciplined one. Laziness teaches you to run from effort. Discipline teaches you to run toward it. Laziness keeps you stuck in the life you currently have. Discipline opens doors you didn't know existed. Every moment you choose laziness, you're shutting a door on who you could become. Laziness sells you the idea of taking it easy, but it never gives you peace. Instead, it leaves you feeling guilty, behind, unfulfilled, and restless. You relax physically, but suffer mentally. You numb the discomfort today and magnify it tomorrow. Real peace comes from knowing you earned your rest, not from escaping your work. You may think laziness is temporary, something you'll fix one day, but habits become identity. The more you practice laziness, the more you become a lazy person. You don't choose laziness occasionally, you slowly become it. Your life reflects what you repeatedly do. If you repeatedly avoid effort, you train yourself to live below your potential. Laziness promises a softer life, but it gives you a harder future. It promises ease, but it produces struggle. It promises relief, but it causes regret. You don't escape anything by being lazy. You only delay the pain until it becomes unavoidable. The uncomfortable truth is that laziness doesn't protect you. It ruins you in slow motion. You cannot claim to want success while choosing laziness. You cannot want a better life while avoiding the work that creates it. You cannot dream about your future and dishonor it with inaction. Laziness is a contradiction to every dream you hold in your heart. The life you want demands a version of you who shows up, not one who hides. Laziness is a silent decision to let your life shrink. It is the choice to live below your potential. It is the decision to disrespect your gifts, your abilities, your future. Comfort feels good today, but growth feels good forever. If you want a life you are proud of, you must stop lying to yourself about the cost of laziness, because laziness isn't just comfort, it's self-destruction. Chapter 2. Tomorrow is the biggest lie you tell yourself. Tomorrow is the most convincing excuse you have. It sounds responsible, hopeful, and harmless. I'll start tomorrow feels like a plan, not a lie. It gives you comfort without requiring action. It lets you relax without guilt. But tomorrow is a trap, a false promise your mind uses to escape the discomfort of starting today. You're not postponing tasks. You're postponing your life. The idea of tomorrow feeds your ego. It makes you believe you will magically be stronger later, more motivated later, more focused later. You imagine a future version of yourself who is disciplined and unstoppable. But that version will never exist if you keep delaying action. Tomorrow creates a fantasy of success while allowing you to remain the same. You don't wait because you need time. You wait because you want to avoid effort. You want the results without the discomfort. You want growth without sacrifice. You want confidence without action. Tomorrow becomes the perfect hiding place where you protect yourself from the challenge that would actually shape you. You call it patience, but it's fear. Tomorrow is a thief disguised as hope. You think it's giving you space, giving you preparation time, giving you clarity, but it quietly takes from you energy, ambition, momentum. Every time you say tomorrow, you make the future heavier. You pile tasks on a day that has no guarantee of your effort, your focus, or even your willingness to try. When you say, I'll start tomorrow, you don't change anything. You repeat the same cycle. You've said it before. You've believed it before. And most of those tomorrows never came with action. Your life doesn't improve because you made promises to yourself. It improves because you kept them. Tomorrow gives you a promise you never have to keep. People don't fail because they lack time. Everyone has the same hours. People fail because they do nothing with the time they already have. They wait for a future moment that feels perfect, forgetting that perfection is built, not found. The only moment you can control is the one happening right now. Tomorrow is a distraction that talks. Today is the opportunity that acts. Tomorrow gives you the illusion of control. You tell yourself you're choosing when to begin. But real control is choosing to start even when it's inconvenient. Real power is choosing to take the first step when you don't feel ready. When you rely on tomorrow, you give up control to comfort. The more you trust tomorrow, the weaker your willpower becomes. The habit of waiting shrinks your life. You start to wait for everything. The right mood, the right money, the right skills, the right timing. Soon, life becomes something you prepare for, not something you live. You start wasting months planning the change you could create in days, and while you wait, someone else who acted becomes who you wanted to be. Tomorrow delays growth. Strength comes from repetition. Confidence comes from trying. Momentum comes from doing. When you wait, you lose all three. You don't just delay results. You delay the development of the person who could earn them. Delay doesn't freeze time. It freezes you. Tomorrow keeps you mentally stuck while life moves forward without you. The biggest lie of tomorrow is believing you need more time. What you really need is more courage. Time is not the problem. Lack of action is. You don't need a better day. You need to become better on the day you have. When you wait for the perfect moment, you make your life dependent on external circumstances that are always changing. Tomorrow teaches you to lie to yourself. Every time you delay, you betray your own goals. You teach your brain that your dreams are flexible, negotiable, easy to ignore. You convince yourself that your future doesn't matter enough to work for today. That habit becomes your identity. You don't just postpone tasks. You postpone becoming the person you were meant to be. Every dream you've ever had is waiting behind the wall of, "I'll do it later." Every skill you want, every income you desire, every future you imagine, blocked by hesitation. You think you're protecting your peace by waiting, but you are protecting your weakness. Future success isn't built by intention, it's built by execution. Today builds, tomorrow talks. Tomorrow is a liar because it tells you change will be easier later. It won't. Laziness grows stronger, fear grows louder, excuses grow smarter. Your responsibilities will increase, not disappear. Your schedule will fill, not clear. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to start. Time doesn't make change easier. Discipline does. The life you want will not wait for you. Opportunities expire. Passions fade. Motivation wears out. Other people take the chances you didn't. The world keeps moving, and if you refuse to move with it, you become irrelevant to your own potential. Tomorrow is only valuable to the person who already started today. Waiting makes you believe you're being cautious, but caution is only useful after you take action. You can't improve something you never began. You can't perfect a path you never walked. You can't correct mistakes you never made. Waiting doesn't prevent failure. It prevents success. Tomorrow is the coward's way to avoid growth. The biggest regret people have isn't failing. It's delaying their life. It's realizing they had the power to start earlier. It's realizing they wasted years waiting for courage they could have practiced daily. Regret is born from silence, not struggle. You will never regret working sooner, only waiting longer. The truth is that you will never wake up magically disciplined. Discipline is not a surprise. It's a decision. You don't feel ready. You choose to start regardless. You don't wait for motivation. You create it through movement. You don't begin tomorrow. You begin now, even if it's messy, uncomfortable, or uncertain. You are not stuck because you lack potential. You are stuck because you keep postponing it. You are not exhausted by effort. You are exhausted by avoiding effort. The longer you delay, the heavier everything becomes. The step you fear today becomes a mountain tomorrow. Tomorrow multiplies difficulty, not possibility. You can change your whole life the moment you stop believing in tomorrow, not by working harder later, but by acting now, not by waiting for a sign, but by deciding to start, not by wishing for the perfect mood, but by choosing movement despite hesitation. Your life changes the moment you stop negotiating with effort and start honoring your future. Tomorrow is a lie that disappears when you face today with honesty. You don't need more time, more clarity, more motivation. You need to respect your goals enough to move toward them now. You need to refuse the lie that your future can wait, because the life you want is not hiding in tomorrow. It's waiting for you to act today. Chapter 3. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. Most people wait to feel motivated before they start, but motivation doesn't come first. Action does. Motivation isn't a spark that magically appears. It's a fire you build through movement. The brain rewards action, not intention. When you do something, even a small step, your mind produces energy. You feel progress. You feel alive. This feeling becomes motivation. You don't get motivated to act. You act to get motivated. If you wait to feel like it, you'll never begin. Your emotions will always push you toward comfort, not effort. You will never wake up with perfect energy, perfect clarity, or perfect discipline. Waiting for motivation is like waiting to be strong before you start training. Strength comes from training. Motivation comes from movement. The action itself is what creates readiness. The biggest mistake people make is assuming motivation is emotional, but motivation is chemical. When you take action, your brain releases dopamine, a reward signal that makes you want to continue. It doesn't happen before the effort. It happens because of the effort. Your brain rewards movement. That reward becomes the desire to continue. Action is the trigger, not the reward. You don't become disciplined by thinking. You become disciplined by doing. Thinking about working won't build discipline. Planning won't build discipline. Wanting change won't build discipline. Only movement trains your brain to follow through. The more you act despite discomfort, the more your mind learns that effort is normal. Motivation is a byproduct of repeated decisions, not a prerequisite. Small actions build momentum faster than big intentions. You don't need to do everything at once. You just need to begin. One push-up leads to 10. One healthy choice leads to discipline. 1 hour of learning leads to mastery. The brain adapts to effort, expanding its capacity step by step. Genius isn't the ability to plan grand changes. It is the ability to start small and stay consistent. Procrastination grows in silence. When you sit still, thoughts take over. Doubt increases, fear increases, excuses get louder. But once you move, the brain has no room to negotiate. Action silences hesitation. Movement interrupts anxiety. You stop thinking about what could go wrong because your focus shifts to what you're doing. Action kills overthinking because the mind cannot fear what it is currently doing. Motivation is unreliable because feelings are unstable. Some days you'll feel strong, some days you won't. If you depend on motivation, you'll work inconsistently and live inconsistently. Successful people work without waiting for inspiration. They build habits that operate even on the days they don't feel like it. That is why they grow and others don't. They replace emotion with execution. Effort becomes easier the more you do it. The first step is heavy, the next ones are lighter. This is why the hardest part of any task is simply starting. Once you begin, momentum carries you. Your brain stops fighting and starts following. The body knows how to move. It's the mind that needs training. Action trains the mind to cooperate instead of resist. Motivation is not what gets you started. Responsibility is. You move because you respect your goals, not because you feel good. You move because your future deserves effort, not excuses. You move because waiting is disrespect to your potential. This shift in mindset turns effort into duty, not an emotional choice. Discipline is what protects commitment from mood swings. When you depend on motivation, you give your feelings power over your future. But when you act first, you take power back. You become stronger than your impulses, stronger than your resistance, stronger than your mind's excuses. Acting before you feel like it is how you break laziness at its root. Action is not just movement, it is leadership over yourself. You do not need motivation to start, you need direction. A clear goal turns action into a path. When you know what you're working for, it's easier to begin. You don't need energy, you need clarity. You don't need inspiration, you need intention. Motivation fades, but purpose doesn't. Goals give movement meaning, and meaning fuels consistency. Momentum grows faster than motivation ever will. Motivation visits occasionally, momentum stays. You build momentum with daily effort, not occasional inspiration. When you show up repeatedly, you create a force that pulls you forward. The more you do, the easier it becomes to continue. Momentum turns discipline into your default setting. Action creates identity. When you work today, you become someone who works. When you avoid effort today, you become someone who avoids effort. Motivation doesn't change who you are. Habits do. Every action becomes proof of the kind of person you are building. You don't become disciplined by believing you can be. You become disciplined by acting like you already are. Motivation is a liar because it convinces you that you need it. But action tells the truth, that you were capable all along. You didn't need motivation, you needed a decision. You didn't need the perfect mood, you needed movement. You didn't need more time, you needed to use the time you already have. Motivation follows commitment, not feelings. Effort compounds. One day of work may look small, but 100 days transforms your life. Consistency beats intensity. A little discipline repeated consistently beats massive effort repeated rarely. Action becomes unstoppable when it becomes ordinary. You don't need to be extraordinary today, you just need to show up. Genius is simply consistency over time. The mind adapts to what you repeatedly choose. If you repeatedly choose laziness, the brain learns to expect ease. If you repeatedly choose effort, the brain learns to activate strength. You become what you practice. Action is practice. Every time you move when you don't want to, you teach your brain to obey goals instead of moods. You don't overcome laziness by fighting it. You overcome it by moving before it speaks. Laziness wants time to negotiate, to persuade you, to comfort you into delay. That negotiation only happens when you hesitate. If you act immediately, laziness loses its grip. The faster you start, the weaker excuses become. Your first step is your victory. Action builds confidence more than success does. Confidence doesn't come from winning, it comes from trying. Many people avoid effort because they don't believe in themselves, but belief is built through doing. When you show yourself you can take action, your brain begins to trust you. Confidence isn't something you have before you start, it's something you earn by starting. Motivation comes after sweat, not before. It arrives after you prove to yourself that you can show up, after you honor your goals with action, after you push through discomfort. Motivation is a reward, not a requirement. Action is the investment. Motivation is the return. Stop waiting for inspiration. Create it. In the end, the secret to motivation is simple. Begin before you feel ready. Your feelings will catch up to your actions. Your mind will follow your movement. Your energy will rise after you start working. Action creates momentum, and momentum creates motivation. If you want to change your life, don't wait to be inspired. Start moving, and the inspiration will come. Chapter 4. Discipline is a decision, not a feeling. Discipline isn't something you wake up with. It's something you choose. It doesn't come from motivation, mood, or emotion. Discipline is the decision to act even when everything in you wants comfort. Most people think discipline should feel empowering, but real discipline feels ordinary, even unpleasant. It's showing up when you don't want to, trying when you'd rather rest, and doing the work when your mind offers every excuse. People wait for discipline to feel good before they practice it. But discipline isn't supposed to feel good. It's supposed to make you good. It doesn't start with excitement. It begins with resistance. Every time you choose the harder path, you strengthen the part of your mind that leads instead of follows. Every time you choose the easy path, you strengthen the part that lives in fear, laziness, and delay. Discipline is not a personality trait. It's a repeated decision. You don't need to be naturally driven. You need to practice daily commitment. You choose to get up. You choose to work. You choose to ignore excuses. Repetition makes discipline normal. Once it becomes normal, success becomes predictable. The disciplined aren't gifted. They are consistent. Your feelings are unreliable. Some days you will feel determined. Other days you will feel exhausted, uninspired, or completely discouraged. If you only act when you feel like it, you will be controlled by your emotions instead of your goals. Discipline is choosing action even when your feelings protest. Discipline respects your future more than your mood. Comfort is the enemy of discipline because comfort offers instant relief with long-term regret. Discipline demands discomfort with long-term rewards. One path feels good now and hurts later. The other hurts now and pays forever. Discipline is the decision to sacrifice temporary ease for permanent growth. Becoming who you want to be requires abandoning who you feel like being. People misunderstand discipline because they think it's a personality strength, but it's actually a habit. A habit built through repetition. A habit that becomes identity. The more you act with discipline, the more you become someone who doesn't negotiate with weakness. The more you avoid discipline, the more you become someone who cannot rely on themselves. Discipline is the greatest form of self-respect. It is you telling yourself that your goals matter more than your impulses. Every time you skip discipline, you subconsciously tell yourself your future isn't worth effort. Every time you show up, you prove you value yourself. Discipline is how you show love to your potential, not how you punish your present. Real discipline begins when motivation ends. Anyone can work when they feel inspired. It takes no strength to act when you're excited. But when you act on the days you dread effort, that is when you build a different version of yourself, the version who does not wait, the version who does not break, the version who deserves success because they earned it through consistency. Discipline is not about working harder, it's about working regularly. Consistency beats intensity. Many people work hard for a week and quit for 2 months. That isn't discipline. Discipline is steady repetition. Like brushing your teeth, showing up for your goals must become non-negotiable, not an emotional debate. Frequency matters more than intensity. Discipline requires eliminating negotiations with yourself. The moment you start debating whether you should work, you already lost momentum. Discipline means your decision is already made before the challenge appears. You don't decide whether you will act, only when you start today. There is no room for negotiation. There is only execution. You are not disciplined because you lack strength. You are undisciplined because you give weakness too much time to speak. Excuses need time to grow. Procrastination needs time to persuade you. If you act immediately, you bypass the mental negotiation that kills progress. Discipline is speed in decision. Do it now before your mind convinces you not to. Discipline requires identity. If you define yourself as lazy, you will act lazy. If you see yourself as someone who is strong, committed, and reliable, you will act accordingly. You become consistent when you stop seeing discipline as something you do and start seeing it as someone you are. Identity shapes behavior. Decide who you are and your actions will follow. Discipline is not intensity, it is honesty. It is looking at your life and admitting what you avoid. It is seeing the truth behind your excuses. It is acknowledging that your habits are building a future you don't want. Discipline is not about punishing yourself, it's about refusing to lie to yourself. Success begins with honesty. Discipline sustains it. Your life changes every time you choose discipline over emotion. Emotion says stop when it gets hard. Emotion says rest when it feels uncomfortable. Emotion says distract yourself when you feel fear. But discipline says keep going, keep trying, keep growing. Emotion protects comfort. Discipline protects your destiny. Discipline requires shutting down the voice that says later. Later is not a time. Later is a decision to surrender. Later is avoidance disguised as patience. When you practice discipline, you don't accept later as a valid option. You act now, even if it's small, even if it's imperfect. Discipline is not about doing everything today. It's about doing something today. Discipline is how you build trust with yourself. Every promise you keep strengthens belief. Every promise you break weakens it. Confidence doesn't come from compliments or success. It comes from keeping your word. Do what you said you would do, especially when you don't feel like it. That is how self-respect is built. That is how leaders are created. Discipline is the refusal to quit when progress is slow. Results don't come quickly. That's why most people don't get them. Discipline is not measured by how hard you work in one moment, but by how long you continue despite minimal payoff. Those who wait for results before working will never experience them. Those who work regardless will eventually reach them. Discipline destroys laziness by replacing desire with responsibility. You don't work because you feel like it. You work because you owe it to your future. You don't rest because you're bored. You rest because it's part of growth, not escape. Responsibility is the backbone of discipline. It reminds you that your life is shaped by choices, not moods. Discipline requires sacrifice, not because life is cruel, but because greatness has a cost. You cannot build a powerful life while clinging to weak habits. You cannot create a new future while protecting old pleasures. You cannot become strong while defending comfort. Success demands trade-offs, not suffering, but choosing what matters more. Discipline is freedom disguised as restriction. People think discipline limits life, but discipline actually liberates you. It frees you from guilt, from regret, from inconsistency, from wasted time, from the anxiety of unfinished goals. When you commit to a disciplined life, you gain control over your time, your choices, and your destiny. There is no secret to discipline except deciding that your excuses no longer get a vote. You don't need more motivation, talent, tools, or time. You need to stop negotiating with weakness and start honoring your goals. You need to be someone your future can trust. Discipline is not a feeling, it is a decision you make today and every day after. Chapter 5. Comfort trains you to quit. Comfort teaches you to surrender long before you've even tried. It makes quitting feel normal, harmless, acceptable. It promises relaxation, but it steals progress. The more you choose comfort over effort, the more your brain learns that giving up is a reward. Soon, even the smallest challenge feels unbearable because you've trained yourself to run instead of rise. Comfort destroys ambition by making challenges look painful and unnecessary. It blinds you with ease. It convinces you that staying where you are is safe, even when staying still is exactly what's holding you back. Comfort doesn't show you what you could become. It only keeps you addicted to who you already are, even if that version is far weaker than your potential. The brain adapts to what you repeatedly do. If you repeatedly choose comfort, you train your mind to avoid everything uncomfortable, and everything worth doing is uncomfortable. Strength is uncomfortable. Growth is uncomfortable. Discipline is uncomfortable. Comfort makes you weak by making avoidance feel smart when it's actually self-destruction. People mistake comfort for peace, but peace is earned through progress. Comfort asks for nothing and gives nothing. Peace is what you feel after effort, after victory, after discipline. Comfort numbs you temporarily, but leaves you restless afterward because deep down you know you're capable of more. Peace satisfies you because you paid for it with commitment. Quitting doesn't begin when you stop working. It begins the moment you consider choosing comfort instead of effort. The moment you think, "I don't feel like it," and treat that thought as a valid reason not to try. Quitting starts in the mind, not in action. Comfort fuels that mindset by making hesitation feel logical, even though it's a trap designed to destroy your future. Comfort teaches your brain to chase relief instead of results. It rewards you for escaping discomfort, not for overcoming it. Over time, you become addicted to avoidance. You start choosing whichever path requires the least effort, not the path that strengthens you. You start making decisions based on how they feel right now instead of how they build you over time. If you always chase what feels easy, your life will always feel hard. The person who chooses comfort experiences difficulty later, regret, insecurity, lack of progress, dependence, mediocrity, failure. The person who chooses effort experiences difficulty now, but gains freedom, confidence, strength, and opportunity later. Comfort gives you easy now and painful later. Discipline gives you hard now and powerful later. Comfort kills ambition slowly, not suddenly. It doesn't destroy your dreams in one moment. It weakens your ability to work for them. It attacks your discipline, not your goals. Eventually, you stop believing in yourself, not because your goals are impossible, but because you've stopped practicing effort long enough to convince yourself you're incapable. Comfort trains you to complain instead of change. You start blaming circumstances, other people, bad luck, or timing. You see every difficulty as unfair instead of necessary. You demand results without effort. Comfort makes you a spectator of your own life, watching opportunities pass while complaining about outcomes you never worked for. When you choose comfort regularly, discomfort begins to feel threatening. You start to fear effort. You start to fear challenges. You start to fear commitment. Comfort blinds you so deeply that strength begins to feel dangerous. You avoid anything that could make you grow, and your life remains exactly the same, full of excuses and empty of achievement. Comfort is the enemy of identity transformation. Identity changes when you push against your limitations. Comfort tells you not to push. It tells you to settle. It trains you to accept a smaller version of yourself. Over time, you begin to believe you're not capable of more, not because it's true, but because you've stopped proving otherwise. Comfort is disguise. It looks like safety, but it's a trap. It looks like rest, but it's stagnation. It looks like self-care, but it's self-sabotage. Real self-care builds you, not weakens you. Real rest supports effort, not replaces it. Real safety comes from capability, not avoidance. Comfort fools you into protecting your weakness instead of building your strength. Comfort trains your brain to prioritize feelings over responsibility. If you work only when you feel like it, your feelings will always control your future. Comfort encourages emotional decisions, not disciplined ones. It teaches you to obey your impulses instead of your goals. Success demands the opposite, choosing action over emotion, purpose over mood. If comfort becomes your default, quitting becomes automatic. You don't quit because the work is too hard. You quit because you've never trained yourself to handle discomfort. You quit because your brain thinks escaping effort is the reward. You have been conditioned to believe rest is deserved even when nothing was earned. Comfort creates a false sense of entitlement. When you live for comfort, you lose the ability to respect yourself. You know you're avoiding effort. You know you're choosing excuses. You know you're wasting potential. That awareness becomes shame, not because you're incapable, but because you're unwilling. Comfort doesn't just keep you stagnant. It erodes your self-esteem by making you a witness to your own avoidance. Comfort makes people envy the disciplined instead of becoming disciplined. They see others succeed and say, they're lucky, they're gifted, or they have motivation. They overlook the truth that the disciplined forced themselves through discomfort while they avoided it. Comfort turns admiration into jealousy because it's easier to envy than to change. Comfort trains you to chase happiness before growth, even though growth creates lasting happiness. Comfort gives you fake pleasure and real pain. Growth gives you temporary pain and real fulfillment. If you keep choosing comfort, you will spend your life chasing cheap pleasure, always running from the pain that leads to transformation. Comfort weakens your ability to endure stress. The more you avoid discomfort, the more stress controls you. you panic at challenges, you crumble at obstacles, you break under pressure. Not because you're weak, but because you haven't trained your strength. Comfort creates fragile minds. Discipline creates resilient ones. Strength is not natural, it is built. Comfort convinces you that beginning is difficult, when the real difficulty is avoiding effort for months or years. Starting takes minutes. Regret lasts decades. Comfort steals your future and returns nothing. Action gives you effort and returns freedom. Comfort keeps you stuck. Action moves you forward. One brings relief, the other brings respect. Comfort tries to convince you that discipline is extreme when laziness is what destroys you. Discipline is not extreme, wasted life is. Missed opportunities are extreme. Being mentally weak is extreme. Being unable to rely on yourself is extreme. Comfort makes weakness normal and calls it balance. Discipline makes strength normal and calls it responsibility. Comfort slowly replaces your goals with wishes. You start dreaming instead of building. You start hoping instead of working. You start imagining success instead of earning it. Comfort convinces you that dreaming about your future is enough, but dreams without effort become fantasies. Comfort produces dreamers. Discipline produces achievers. You must understand that comfort doesn't just delay achievement, it delays identity. Every time you choose ease, a stronger version of you waits, but you don't meet them. The disciplined version of you is on the other side of effort. Comfort makes sure you never reach them. You don't lose your potential, you ignore it. Comfort trains you to protect your feelings more than your future. You start caring more about how you feel today than who you'll become tomorrow. You defend your comfort like it's your right. You guard it like a treasure, even though it's the very thing stealing your greatness. Comfort makes you loyal to your weakness. Comfort does not prepare you for life. Difficulty does. Struggle builds patience. Pressure builds competence. Repetition builds mastery. Discomfort builds mental toughness. If you avoid discomfort, you avoid the very experiences designed to prepare you for success. Comfort keeps you unprepared, hoping life becomes easier instead of making yourself stronger. Comfort trains indecision. The more you avoid action, the harder decisions become. Even simple choices feel overwhelming. You second-guess everything because your brain is conditioned to escape effort, not commit to it. Discipline removes indecision. You don't decide whether to act, you decide how to act. Comfort paralyzes. Discipline directs. Comfort breeds impatience. When you live for ease, anything that takes time feels unbearable. You want fast results without long-term effort. You want shortcuts without sacrifice. Comfort convinces you that success should be immediate, turning you into someone who quits too early. Discipline teaches patience and persistence. Comfort teaches frustration and abandonment. Comfort makes you resent effort. You begin to hate anything that challenges you. You see discipline as restrictive instead of liberating. You view effort as punishment instead of privilege. Comfort rewires the brain so deeply that growth feels threatening. You start defending your limitations because they feel safe, even though they are suffocating you. Comfort is seductive because it hides consequences. You don't see what you're losing while you're choosing ease. You don't see opportunities disappear. You don't see confidence drain. You don't see potential decay. Comfort delays consequences long enough that you think you're fine until the price arrives, and it's too late to pay it with effort. Comfort convinces you that starting tomorrow is harmless when every tomorrow becomes a chain around your life. You keep thinking you can change later, unaware that each delay strengthens laziness and weakens discipline. Tomorrow becomes a habit becomes identity becomes destiny. Comfort slowly decides your fate while you think you're resting. Comfort is an addiction, and like all addictions, it destroys you quietly. It gives relief, but demands your future. It gives temporary pleasure, but takes your long-term fulfillment. It gives you rest, but steals your resilience. Addictions promise peace, but they always deliver pain. Comfort promises peace, but gives regret. Choosing comfort every day is choosing failure in slow motion. Not dramatic failure, not tragic failure, but quiet failure. The kind where nothing changes, nothing improves, and nothing grows. You don't fall apart, you fade away. You don't crash, you stagnate. Comfort doesn't break your life. It keeps you from building one. The more you choose comfort, the more you sacrifice control. You become controlled by laziness, controlled by mood, controlled by impulse, controlled by insecurity. Discipline puts life in your hands. Comfort puts life in your excuses. One creates strength, the other keeps you wishing. One builds a future, the other traps you in the present. Comfort is not freedom. Discipline is. Comfort feels like freedom because you can do what you want. But real freedom is doing what you choose, not what you're controlled by. Real freedom is being strong enough to act despite emotion. Real freedom is living a life that you built on purpose, not one that comfort allowed by accident. Comfort makes quitting automatic, but discipline makes success inevitable. Success is not about talent, opportunity, or luck. It's about becoming someone who keeps moving forward regardless of mood, fear, or difficulty. Comfort teaches you to escape challenges. Discipline trains you to conquer them. You must decide which voice leads your life. The voice that seeks comfort or the voice that seeks growth. One voice protects who you are today, the other builds who you must become. One voice keeps you asleep in your potential, the other wakes you up to your responsibility. Comfort trains you to quit, unless you choose discipline as your teacher instead. In the end, comfort will either be your greatest weakness or the enemy you defeated to earn your future. Every day is a choice between what feels easy now and what feels powerful later. Your life is shaped by what you tolerate, not what you want. If you continue to choose comfort, you continue to choose failure. If you choose growth, you choose freedom. Comfort trains you to quit. Discipline trains you to rise. Chapter 6. The Cost of Wasted Time. You never get back. Time is the only thing you spend without ever seeing the bill until it's too late. When you waste money, you can earn it back. When you lose opportunities, you can find new ones. But time leaves permanently. Every hour you waste today is an hour that disappears forever. People treat time like it's renewable, when in reality, it's the rarest resource they will ever own. Most people don't fear wasting time because they don't feel the consequences immediately. Laziness doesn't hurt right away. Procrastination doesn't sting instantly. Time doesn't punish you with a loud alarm. It punishes you with quiet regret. The cost builds slowly. One delayed task, one ignored goal, one distracted day, until one day you realize what you lost cannot be reclaimed. You don't lose time in giant chunks. You lose it in small moments that seem harmless. 10 minutes here, 1 hour there, a day of delay, a week of postponing. Time slips quietly, disguised as just one more minute of scrolling, just one more episode, or just tomorrow. You don't destroy your future in one decision. You sabotage it through repeated little ones. Wasting time is dangerous because it deceives you. It makes you feel like you're doing something with your life when you're actually doing nothing. You feel busy, but not productive. You feel tired without having earned it. You feel like you need a break, even though you haven't worked. The mind tricks itself into believing that inactivity is rest when it is really decay. Time isn't measured by clocks, it's measured by progress. You don't get older with age, you get older with inaction. The person who wastes a year without growing is aging faster than someone who is learning, trying, and building. What ages you most isn't time passing, it's goals dying. You get older every time you let your potential remain unused. People wait for the right time and don't realize that waiting is the cost. You're paying for delay with your days. You're paying for excuses with your future. The best time to start anything was yesterday. The next best time is now. Every time you postpone effort, you are sacrificing a piece of the life you could have created. The longer you wait, the more your dreams shrink. You start lowering your standards. You convince yourself you want less, not because the dream changed, but because you stopped working for it. Time doesn't only take opportunities, it takes belief. The more time you waste, the more you begin to think your goals are impossible, when really they are just unattended. One of the biggest costs of wasted time is losing trust in yourself. Every time you say, "I'll do it tomorrow," and don't, you damage your self-respect. You break a promise to your future. You teach your mind that your words lack value. Eventually, you stop believing yourself, not because you're incapable, but because you stopped keeping your word. Time wasted becomes attention wasted. Attention wasted becomes energy wasted. Energy wasted becomes potential wasted. Potential wasted becomes identity wasted. By avoiding small actions today, you slowly erase the person you could become. Time doesn't just disappear. It takes pieces of you with it. The value of time becomes clear only when you no longer have enough of it, when your health limits you, when responsibilities grow, when opportunities pass, when those around you progress and you feel stuck, when you see younger people surpass you. Only then do you realize the true cost of time you took for granted. Wasted time makes your future harder. When you don't do something now, you don't just delay results, you increase resistance. Problems compound, skills decay, confidence fades. What would have been easy earlier becomes difficult later. You pay interest on procrastination. Every delay creates a bigger debt you will eventually have to repay through struggle. Time is not kind to the hesitant. It rewards the ones who act, even if they're imperfect. You don't need perfect timing. You need consistent use of time. You don't need clarity. You need commitment. Time respects those who respect themselves enough to act. Time abandons those who abandon their goals. The scariest truth is that time moves whether you move or not. You are either building something or letting life build consequences for you. Growth doesn't happen because of age. It happens because of effort. Some people stay stuck for 20 years because they waste the time meant for transformation. Years pass, but they remain the same person they were. Your future self is begging you not to waste another year, begging you not to keep pretending you have time, begging you to stop giving your hours to distraction, fear, and comfort. The future version of you either thanks you or hates you based on what you do today. Every hour is either an investment or a betrayal. Wasting time isn't just procrastination, it becomes a lifestyle. You sleep more than you need. You scroll more than you should. You think more than you act. Laziness doesn't come from lack of energy. It comes from lack of urgency. When you think you have time, you wait. When you realize time is limited, you move. The cost of wasted time is missing the version of yourself who would have existed if you had worked. The athlete you could have become. The creator you could have become. The leader, the business owner, the disciplined, respected, powerful version of you. That person doesn't die because they were impossible. They die because you wasted their time. Time doesn't forgive. It continues forward with or without you. If you don't chase your goals, time will drag you into regret. If you don't grow your skills, time will expose your weaknesses. If you don't use your potential, time will bury it. You either use time as a tool or suffer time as a penalty. The worst pain in life is not failure. It is regret. It is realizing you had years and did nothing with them. It is seeing other people succeed with less talent because they used their time more wisely. Regret is not emotional punishment. It is justice. You receive the life you built, not the one you wished for. The more time you waste, the more discipline you will need later just to catch up. The more you delay, the more effort is required to rebuild what laziness destroyed. Time compounds effort, just like it compounds debt. The longer you ignore your goals, the more expensive they become. Waiting doesn't make goals easier. It makes them heavier. People think doing nothing is harmless, but doing nothing is the fastest way to lose everything. You don't need a disaster to ruin your life. All you need is time passing while you do nothing meaningful with it. A life can collapse quietly through inactivity just as easily as it can collapse through chaos. Time used wisely becomes confidence. Time wasted becomes insecurity. You don't lack confidence because you're incapable. You lack confidence because you avoided the experiences that create it. Confidence comes from doing, from trying, from failing and learning. Wasted time shelters you from discomfort, but also protects you from growth. When you waste time, you lose opportunities you'll never know existed. You will never meet the people you could have met, create the projects you could have created, or discover the talents you could have developed. Wasted time doesn't just stop you from success. It stops you from even knowing what was possible. You can measure the cost of wasted time by what you can't do today. The body you didn't build, the skills you didn't practice, the money you didn't earn, the relationships you didn't nurture. Time always reveals what effort could have created. You don't realize how much you lost until you need the results you never worked for. Time rewards courage. You don't need the perfect plan. You need action. You don't need the perfect mood. You need movement. Time doesn't reward the careful. It rewards the committed. The brave are not fearless. They simply refuse to waste time waiting to feel ready. When you fear failure, you delay. When you delay, you waste time. When you waste time, you guarantee failure. The fear you tried to avoid becomes the outcome you created. Time punishes fear more than effort ever will. Action risks failure. Inaction guarantees it. The people who value time become unstoppable. They don't look for shortcuts because they know effort compounds. They don't seek instant results because they know mastery takes time. They don't wait for motivation because they know momentum creates it. They treat every hour like a building block for their future. When you waste time, you convince yourself that growth is optional. But time reveals growth is mandatory. Life will demand strength, discipline, skill, and resilience, whether you want it to or not. You can build these qualities now, or you can suffer because you don't have them later. Time doesn't care whether you're prepared. It only exposes whether you are. Time teaches you that excuses don't matter. You can justify laziness, blame circumstances, explain your hesitation. Time doesn't listen. It moves forward with complete indifference. Excuses protect your feelings, but they never protect your future. Time reveals results, not reasons. The people who respect time aren't smarter. They're just more honest. Honest enough to admit they're wasting potential. Honest enough to call procrastination what it is, self-sabotage. Honest enough to start even when they don't feel ready. Honesty with yourself is the beginning of discipline. Discipline is the beginning of freedom. The more you waste time, the more your mind becomes addicted to distraction. Laziness isn't just a habit, it becomes a mindset. You don't just avoid work, you avoid responsibility. You don't just ignore goals, you ignore growth. You don't just lose hours, you lose character. Time doesn't just pass, it shapes who you become. Time makes effort valuable because it is limited. You don't have unlimited chances to change. You don't have endless opportunities to restart. Most people realize this too late when they've spent years waiting, hoping, dreaming, planning, but not acting. Time runs fast for those who walk slowly. If you want to know how valuable time is, ask someone who waited until regret arrived. Ask someone who wishes they had started earlier. Ask someone who learned a skill too late. Ask someone who let potential dissolve through delay. They will tell you the most painful truth. Time is expensive, and they can no longer afford it. You will never get back the years you wasted, but you can decide not to waste any more. You can redeem the time ahead. You can use urgency to build what delay once destroyed. Today is not too late, unless you keep pretending there's still time to waste. What you do now decides whether time becomes your ally or your enemy. Time is not against you. Your hesitation is. Time is not your problem. Your delay is. Time cannot be controlled, but your choices can be. Time will pass anyway. Your only power is how you use it. You either use time to bring you closer to who you want to be, or you watch time turn you into someone you never intended to become. Your future will be determined by one decision: whether you let time control you, or whether you control your actions inside the time you're given. You can break every chain of procrastination in one moment, the moment you realize time is too valuable for excuses. The cost of wasted time is permanent. The reward of used time is freedom. The life you want is possible only if you stop wasting time waiting for it. Success is not delayed. You are. Growth is not impossible. You simply haven't committed. Time doesn't stop you from becoming great. You stop yourself by giving your time to everything except greatness. The clock isn't your enemy. Your choices are. You cannot save time, but you can invest it. You cannot add more time to your life, but you can add more life to your time. Every day spent with effort becomes a building block for your future. Every day wasted becomes a brick in the wall that blocks it. The difference between regret and results is how you spend your hours. The cost of wasted time is not measured in days. It's measured in the person you never became. You are not losing time. You are losing who you could have been. Your future self is watching the seconds disappear, waiting for you to act. You don't get this time back. Use it before it uses you. Chapter 7. Build momentum with small, consistent effort. People imagine change as something dramatic, a powerful breakthrough, a sudden transformation, a huge leap that happens all at once. But real change doesn't look like that. Real change is slow, quiet, and built through small steps repeated daily. Momentum doesn't come from doing everything at once. It comes from doing something consistently. One tiny step today is more valuable than a massive effort that never happens. Consistency matters more than intensity because intensity fades, but repetition builds identity. You can work hard for a week and feel proud, but it's worthless if you disappear for a month afterward. Small effort repeated daily trains your mind and body to improve without relying on motivation. When effort becomes normal instead of occasional, momentum becomes unstoppable. Momentum is created the moment you stop thinking and start doing. It doesn't matter if the task is small, imperfect, or simple. Action matters more than size. You build progress through discipline, not dramatic performance. A little effort done every day unlocks more results than a huge burst of energy that you cannot maintain. Small habits make success sustainable. The reason small effort works is because it bypasses resistance. Your mind resists big change because it feels overwhelming. But a small step doesn't trigger fear. Reading one page doesn't feel hard. Doing 5 push-ups doesn't feel impossible. Writing for 10 minutes doesn't feel scary. Small effort slips past hesitation and creates movement before your mind can stop you. You don't need to be inspired to take small steps. You don't need motivation to do a little bit. That's why small effort is powerful. It requires less emotional energy, but builds massive results over time. The brain adapts to repetition. If you show up in small ways every day, your mind learns to work without debating, negotiating, or resisting. Momentum builds confidence faster than achievement does. When you see yourself showing up every day, you begin to trust yourself. You don't need to hope you'll change. You can see yourself changing. Confidence doesn't come from believing you can do big things. It comes from proving you can do small things repeatedly. Each small effort becomes evidence that you are becoming consistent. Small habits compound into big transformations because consistency multiplies effort. One day of training gives results that are barely noticeable. But 30 days, 90 days, 6 months, the results are obvious. Momentum compounds like interest. The earlier you start, the easier growth becomes. The later you wait, the harder it will be to catch up. Momentum is built through rhythm, not intensity. When a musician practices daily, they don't try to master a whole song in one day. They practice bits over and over. Eventually, those bits come together and become effortless. The same is true for your life. If you repeat the fundamentals every day, the big results will come naturally. Momentum makes hard things feel easier over time. Momentum requires patience because progress hides itself in the early stages. When you start a new habit, you often won't see immediate payoff. The body doesn't change overnight. Skills don't sharpen instantly. Money doesn't grow instantly. Most people quit because they don't see results fast enough. But momentum works invisibly until the day it reveals itself. Consistency is often boring, and that's exactly why it works. The boring tasks are the ones your future is built on. Successful people master boredom. They don't chase excitement, they chase commitment. They don't need everything to feel fun. They know that repetition creates mastery, not thrills. If you can stay consistent when it's boring, you can succeed when it's difficult. Small effort trains your brain to focus on process instead of outcome. When results come slowly, you learn to value the work itself. You learn to fall in love with practice instead of craving instant payoff. Mastery grows only when you enjoy progress more than applause. Small steps teach you patience, and patience is the foundation of greatness. Momentum grows when failure doesn't stop you. When a day goes poorly, you don't quit, you reduce the step. You don't break the habit, you scale it. If you can't work for an hour, work for 10 minutes. If you can't exercise for 30 minutes, do 5. Momentum survives because consistency is adaptable. You succeed not by doing everything, but by always doing something. The key to building momentum is making effort non-negotiable. You don't ask yourself if you feel like it. You don't debate whether it's worth it. You don't delay until you're motivated. You agree that something must be done every day, no matter how small. When effort becomes a requirement instead of an option, momentum becomes automatic. Momentum is not a feeling, it's a habit. You won't always feel momentum working, but every small action pushes you forward, even if it's invisible. When a seed grows underground, nothing looks different from the outside. But roots are forming. Foundation is building. That's how small effort looks. Nothing seems to change until everything does. Small improvements are more powerful than big plans. Big plans often die in overwhelm. Small improvements survive and multiply. A small improvement every day beats a perfect plan that never gets executed. If you wait until everything is perfect, nothing will ever happen. If you start with the imperfect step you can take now, you will eventually reach perfection. Momentum doesn't demand willpower, it creates it. When you practice small habits, you train your brain to expect action. You build strength through repetition. Eventually, working becomes easier than avoiding work. Laziness becomes harder than effort. When momentum is strong, you don't need to push yourself. You simply follow the identity you've built. Consistent effort protects you from extreme highs and lows. Without momentum, you rely on motivation, which rises and falls unpredictably. One day, you're unstoppable, the next, you're stuck. With momentum, you don't need emotional peaks, you just need to show up. Consistency stabilizes progress. It prevents you from starting over again and again. People lose progress not because they fail, but because they stop. Success is not about never falling. It's about never staying down. Small habits make it easy to recover quickly. A small routine is easier to return to than an extreme one. If your efforts are sustainable, your progress becomes indestructible. A single small action done now is more valuable than a perfect idea saved for later. The world is full of brilliant ideas never executed, potential wasted because someone waited for the right time. The only right time is the moment you choose to act. Momentum rewards those who take action, not those who wait. Small changes build a new identity. If you read every day, you become a reader. If you exercise every day, you become an athlete. If you work on your goals daily, you become someone who succeeds. You don't change who you are by thinking differently. You change who you are by acting differently. Identity follows action. If you want big results, forget trying to be perfect. Perfection kills momentum. When you obsess over doing things perfectly, you procrastinate, hesitate, and stress yourself into quitting. Small effort frees you from perfection because progress becomes more important than flawlessness. Flawed action beats flawless inaction every time. Momentum is a silent teacher. It teaches discipline without force. It teaches patience without pain. It teaches persistence without desperation. You don't struggle to create momentum. You struggle when you don't have any. When momentum is present, progress feels natural. When momentum is absent, progress feels impossible. Your job is simply to start moving. Small habits create discipline because they establish routine. When something becomes routine, it no longer requires motivation. You don't need motivation to brush your teeth. You do it automatically. If your goals become habits, you will pursue them automatically. The smartest strategy is to make your future success automatic through consistent small actions. People underestimate how powerful small habits become when they accumulate. One day of progress may seem insignificant, but 1 year of daily progress can transform your entire life. Consistency is the difference between a dream and a reality. It turns possibilities into results and ambition into mastery. Momentum protects your focus. When you have a routine, distractions have less power. You don't waste time deciding what to do because you already know what comes next. You don't wander mentally because your actions have direction. Momentum keeps you moving, and movement keeps you focused. Small effort removes fear because fear thrives on inaction. When you do something today, fear loses its grip. It becomes harder to doubt yourself when you are actually improving. Fear is strongest when your mind is still. Action destroys fear by proving that movement is possible. The more you act, the less fear controls you. Momentum teaches you to respect progress instead of perfection. You begin to value growth instead of speed. You honor effort instead of excuses. You start appreciating who you're becoming rather than obsessing over instant results. Success becomes a journey you practice, not a miracle you wait for. Consistency creates a compounding effect on skill. You don't need to practice for hours to get better. You need to practice frequently. The brain learns better through repetition than intensity. Consistent daily effort turns short practice sessions into extraordinary mastery. The best performers are not the ones who train hardest, but the ones who train most consistently. Momentum trains you to finish what you start. When you take small steps, finishing becomes easy. Huge goals often remain incomplete because they are too heavy to lift all at once. Small steps create completion, and completion builds confidence. Confidence encourages bigger steps, and bigger steps create greater achievement. Momentum builds discipline in a way motivation never can. Motivation pushes you once. Momentum pulls you every day. Motivation makes you feel excited. Momentum makes you feel obligated to your goals. Discipline thrives when momentum is strong because the habit carries you through discomfort without emotional resistance. Small consistency protects you from burnout. When you try to change everything overnight, you overwhelm your mind and body. Burnout kills progress faster than laziness. Small habits allow growth without stress. You don't need to conquer your goals instantly. You need to grow into them gradually until they feel natural. Momentum gives your life structure. You don't wake up lost, wondering what to do with your day. Your actions have direction. Your time has purpose. You don't drift, you build. The more structure you have, the more freedom you create. Structure allows spontaneity without chaos, ambition without anxiety. Small effort breaks the illusion of impossibility. What seemed too big to start becomes manageable when broken into pieces. Hard goals become easy goals when divided into daily tasks. Success isn't about doing something huge, it's about doing something small until it becomes huge. Big wins are made of tiny steps. Momentum turns effort into identity. Your habits become who you are. People don't admire you because of one achievement. They admire who you became to achieve it. Momentum transforms your character, not just your results. You become trustworthy to yourself. You become dependable. You become someone who finishes. Every small action you take today is a vote for the future you want. Every action you skip is a vote for the future you fear. You are casting votes for your destiny every single day. The person you become is built by the choices you make now. Small, consistent effort isn't a strategy. It is self-respect in motion. Momentum doesn't require perfection. Momentum only requires movement. Even if your effort is weak, clumsy, or uncertain, it still counts. It builds. It compounds. It grows. Your power isn't in being extraordinary today. Your power is in choosing not to stop. Consistency is what turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Momentum is the quiet force that transforms potential into reality. It doesn't shout. It doesn't rush. It simply accumulates until what once felt difficult becomes automatic. The life you want won't come from one great effort. It will come from hundreds of small ones. When you move a little every day, you become unstoppable. Small, consistent effort is not just a strategy for achieving goals. It is a way of living that ensures progress regardless of how you feel. When you stop waiting for perfect timing and start committing to tiny actions, you take control of your growth. Momentum is built, not found. You are building it right now with every decision you make. In the end, the most powerful thing you can do for your future is something small today. Not everything, not perfectly, just something. One step, one task, one effort, and then repeat it. Success belongs to those who continue, not those who begin perfectly. Momentum is your greatest ally. Build it with consistency, and nothing will be able to stop you. Chapter 8. Your future depends on what you do today. Your future isn't something you stumble into, it's something you build. Every choice you make today is shaping the person you'll wake up as tomorrow. Most people think their future will change suddenly through luck, opportunity, or a perfect moment. But the truth is, the future is formed through ordinary days, not extraordinary ones. What you repeatedly do matters more than what you occasionally dream. Today is not a placeholder. It's a blueprint. The way you use your time, the habits you practice, the standards you accept, and the effort you give are all messages to your future. You are sending instructions with every action. If you choose laziness, you're asking for regret. If you choose discipline, you're requesting growth. Your future is simply delivering what you're ordering with your choices. People believe the future will be better without realizing that better only comes from work. You can't expect a healthier body if you feed yourself recklessly today. You can't expect a successful life if you waste your hours today. You can't expect confidence if you spend today avoiding challenges. Your future will be honest with you, even if you've been dishonest with yourself. Every day is an investment, either in progress or in procrastination. You're never neutral. You're always building something. You're either building a stronger version of yourself or polishing the chains of your comfort. You're either building structure or building excuses. There's no middle. The future doesn't reward intentions. It rewards investments. The smallest actions you take today have consequences far greater than the effort itself. 1 hour of learning creates a new skill. 1 act of discipline strengthens your identity. 1 moment of courage creates opportunities. The future multiplies what you do today. It magnifies your habits, your decisions, your priorities. What feels small now becomes powerful later. The most painful truth is that your future will reflect what you tolerated today. If you allow procrastination, you'll become someone who runs from responsibility. If you accept mediocrity, you'll become someone who fears excellence. If you ignore effort, you'll become someone who doesn't trust themselves. Your future is determined by what you're willing to accept, not what you want. Today is the only place you have strength. You can't change yesterday, and you don't control tomorrow. The only time you can act, grow, build, and transform is now. People dream of a better future, but abandon the only moment that can create it. Powerful lives are created by powerful days, and powerful days are created by powerful choices. Right now, in this moment. If you waste today, you are telling your future that your comfort matters more than your potential. If you show up today, you're telling your future that your growth matters more than your excuses. The future isn't biased, it's obedient. It will give you whatever you consistently instruct it to build. The life you want isn't waiting for you in some distant time. It's waiting for you to stop wasting the present. You don't need a new month, a new year, or a new plan. You need to use the time you already have. People don't lack opportunities, they lack urgency. When urgency replaces excuses, your future finally begins. You cannot outrun the impact of your habits. They will catch up to you. Even if no one sees your laziness today, your results will reveal it tomorrow. Even if no one applauds your effort today, your results will reveal it tomorrow. The future exposes everything you've practiced, both the discipline and the avoidance. If you want to change your life, change your daily standards, not your dreams, not your intentions, your standards. Dreams excite you. Standards shape you. Standards force you to show up. Your future depends on the rules you set for yourself now. You either raise your standards or you lower your potential. The choice is happening daily. The difference between people who rise and people who never change is simple. One group uses today, the other wastes it. Successful people don't wait for perfect conditions. They work with what's available. They don't wait to feel motivated. They build momentum. They don't wait for opportunities. They prepare for them. Today is their tool, not their excuse. Your future demands payment, and the currency is effort. You cannot pay with wishes. You cannot pay with goals. You cannot pay with inspiration. You pay only with action. Every day you show up, you're paying for the life you want. Every day you avoid effort, you're creating debt. The future will make you pay, either with regret or discipline. You are not stuck because your goals are too far. You are stuck because today you're not moving toward them. You are not behind because life is unfair. You are behind because you wasted the opportunities you were given. The future isn't the problem. Your hesitation is. Your delay is. Your tolerance for laziness is. Today is the cure for being stuck. If you want a future with freedom, build discipline today. If you want a future with peace, build responsibility today. If you want a future with strength, build effort today. The future is simple. It gives you back what you give now. You cannot plant neglect and expect success to grow. You cannot plant excuses and expect abundance. Today is your greatest test of character. Not how much you dream, not how much you talk, not how excited you feel, but how much you execute. The world is full of people who want change but refuse to work today. Your future separates you from them based on your consistency, not your wishes. Dreams require workers, not wishers. Time will pass no matter what you do. That is the most sobering truth. 10 years will pass whether you build something or not. A year will pass whether you grow or remain stagnant. What you choose to do today decides whether those years will be filled with regret or progress. Time doesn't slow for procrastination, it punishes it. Your future isn't shaped by goals, it's shaped by priorities. People set goals they never become because their daily choices don't support them. Goals without aligned habits are fantasies. If your actions don't match your desires, then your desires are lies. Your future reveals whether your goals were real or just comfort disguised as ambition. You build your future in silence long before the world sees the results. You build it when no one is watching, when no one applauds, when no one believes in you yet. You build it through small tasks, boring effort, repeated discipline. The future does not reward applause, it rewards consistency in the shadows. Today is a battleground between who you are and who you could be. Every decision either empowers your potential or prolongs your weakness. Every choice either strengthens your future or protects your comfort. Today is a battlefield disguised as an ordinary day. Most people don't fight for their future because they don't recognize the war. Your future will be proud of you only if your present is demanding of you. If your life feels too easy today, your future will hurt. If today feels challenging, your future will thrive. Comfort today creates struggle tomorrow. Struggle today creates strength tomorrow. You must choose what type of pain you prefer, the pain of effort now or the pain of regret later. Stop waiting for life to get easier. Life doesn't get easier, you get stronger. You don't create a great future by hoping the world changes. You create it by changing yourself. Hoping is passive. Action is transformative. You must earn a strong future by becoming the kind of person who refuses weakness today. You can't build a future on occasional effort. You can only build it on consistent action. One day of work won't change your life, but 1 year of showing up will. 1 month of discipline will transform your confidence. 1 week of focus will reveal your potential. Your future is not created by intensity, it's created by repetition. Every future failure begins with daily neglect. Every future success begins with daily attention. The future doesn't care what you say, what you believe, what you want. It cares only about what you practice. You are rehearsing for your future every day. Practice laziness, and you will perform regret. Practice discipline, and you will perform greatness. Your future self is not a fantasy, it's a result. It will be created by what you tolerate, what you work through, what you avoid, and what you commit to. The future version of you isn't waiting to be discovered. It's waiting to be built. You are crafting that person with every decision you make today. Today is the most important day of your life, not because it is special, but because it is usable. You can waste it or you can use it. You can choose effort or delay. You can choose growth or repeat the same mistakes. You can choose to build your future or abandon it. Today is a gift only to those who act on it. Procrastination promises comfort today and steals success tomorrow. Responsibility demands effort today and delivers freedom tomorrow. You must decide which type of life you want. A life where you avoid difficulty and pay later, or a life where you embrace difficulty and earn success later. Both have a cost. Your choices decide which price you pay. The future does not negotiate. It doesn't give grace to excuses. It doesn't care how valid your reasons are. It listens only to discipline. Your results will expose whether you respected today. Your success or failure will show whether you treated time like an opportunity or a burden. Your future will simply reflect your present. Today is the smallest portion of your life, yet it has the greatest influence. If you waste one day, it seems small. But waste enough days, and you waste years. Use one day well, and it seems small. But use enough days well, and you build an extraordinary life. Extraordinary futures are simply ordinary days used intentionally. The person you want to become is hidden inside your daily habits. Show up today, and that version grows stronger. Skip today, and that version weakens. Your future depends not on who you hope to be, but on who you train yourself to be today. Transformation doesn't start tomorrow. It starts now, in small decisions repeated relentlessly. Today is the gatekeeper of your future. Use it, and it opens doors. Waste it, and it closes options. The future doesn't belong to dreamers. It belongs to doers. The ones who work, even when it's uncomfortable. The ones who start, even when they're unprepared. The ones who understand that every future breakthrough begins with today's small step. Your life is shaped by the days you thought didn't matter. The actions you thought were too small, the efforts you thought were insignificant, the routines you repeated when no one cared. Those invisible decisions build visible results. Your future is a masterpiece made of ordinary moments practiced consistently. If you are willing to respect today, the future will respect you. If you choose to act now, the future will reward you. If you decide to stop wasting time, the future will open doors you once believed were unreachable. The future isn't waiting for you to be ready. It's waiting for you to take responsibility for today. The only real control you have over your life is how you use this moment. You can't edit the past. You can't predict the future. But you can shape it by honoring today. Every dream, every goal, every transformation begins the same way, with action now. If you want a future worth living, build it today. In the end, your future will either be a reflection of your excuses or a reflection of your effort. Today decides which one you'll have. Today is the currency. Today is the opportunity. Today is the doorway. Use it with discipline, and your future will be remarkable. Waste it, and your future will be ordinary. Your future depends on what you do today, not someday, but now. In the end, laziness isn't a feeling. It's a decision to postpone your own potential, a decision to trade growth for comfort, a decision to let your life shrink into excuses. You don't lose your dreams because they're too big. You lose them because you keep waiting for a better time to start. The truth is, success doesn't show up for the talented. It shows up for the consistent. Motivation might visit you some days, but discipline must live with you every day. Life doesn't reward the person who thinks about changing. It rewards the one who changes. It rewards the one who moves, even when it's uncomfortable. Even when it's inconvenient, even when it doesn't feel perfect. If you don't fight for your future now, you'll regret the time you wasted later. Comfort will keep you exactly where you are, but effort will take you where you belong. You don't need to feel ready. You need to stop waiting. You don't need more time. You need to use the time you already have, because tomorrow isn't coming to save you. Your life won't change when you feel motivated. It will change when you get up today. Let's stop waiting. Let's start building. The rest of your life begins with what you do now.